What's going on, everyone? It's Gendo here, and welcome to the Higher Tempo Press, where today we got a manager experiment for you all, seeing how Max Allegri will get on as Arsenal manager. Now, we all know about the story of Arsenal over the last few seasons, top four and just making Champions League football. This year, different story. They've really been struggling to hit that top four spot, and even with an FA Cup final run, I don't think that will be enough to save Arsene Wenger's job. A lot of speculation over who could potentially replace him, a lot of names thrown out there, but one that really has stuck with the most and has been rising to the top is Max Allegri from Juventus. Now, let us see if Max Allegri can take his Italian style and translate that to success in the English game. It's worked for Antonio Conte so far. Will it work for Max? Alright, so let's take a look at Allegri as a whole. I made him so that he has taken over the Arsenal job on the 1st of July. Wenger has not retired. He is just a manager that is available out on the open market. But first, let's just take a look at his stats. Some of his really adept stats, as you can see, man management 16, great mentally with an 18 there. It looks like he's very adept as both an attacking and a defensive-minded coach, but I feel that with the formation that he primarily uses, his 5-1-2-2 formation, he is more of a defensive-minded head coach. Mentally, he's no slouch either, with 15 motivating, 18 for tactical knowledge. You gotta have those high stats if you want to make it as a manager, to be adept in changing your formations and knowing exactly what to use in certain situations. Now, outside of being a manager, Allegri has had a playing career as well, and on both fronts, he has stayed within Italy. Now, while he was playing, he didn't stay at the club for very long, 2 to 3 years here and there, with several clubs. Livorno starting with Pescara, Cagliari, Perugia, Padova, finishing with Agolanese at the very end of his career before moving on into his managerial roles. Now, Allegri has had several managerial opportunities, and each one looks to be a step up on the rung, bettering himself as a manager, starting with Agolanese as soon as he retired, taking over that club, then moving on to Spal, Grosseto, Lecco, Sassuolo, Cagliari, Milan, before finally being at Juventus for the last 3 years. Now, obviously, you could say that Juventus is probably the best job that he could have at this point in time. Others will say that Arsenal is another step up on that ladder of managerial opportunities. I'm not going to be the one to argue on what is right and who is right at this point in time. I'm just here to show you how Max Allegri gets on as Arsenal manager, and that's exactly what we're going to do at this point in time. So that being said, let's fast forward over the first season and see how well he gets on as Arsenal manager. Alright, so we skipped ahead a year. It is now the 1st of June 2017, and already I'm not seeing a good sign as Max Allegri is in the insecure jobs list at Arsenal. Now, what did he do that has put him on this list? And already 7th. He finished 7th with Arsenal in his very first season. That is definitely not good. A lot worse than Wenger has been over the last few seasons. 64 points finishing the season with, 2 behind Leicester and Man City, but a whopping 16 behind Spurs for that 4th and final Champions League spot. That's not how you make your mark, as coming in as a new manager and taking over for Arsene Wenger. But let's take a look and see how Arsenal fared in the season. Let's just take a look at the breakdown of how he fared in the Premier League, and that's not a good look right from the start. It looks like within the first 10 matches, 11 matches, he had only 3 wins. Yeah, that'll dig you a hole if you don't get the results early. And 11 matches in, getting himself 3 wins, that's not a good look. To be fair, though, within the next 11 matches, he got himself a nice little unbeaten run. But yeah, when you dig your hole that early, it's not going to set you up to a very good Premier League season. Let's take a look and see how he fared on the transfer front to see how exactly he got on bettering the squad or weakening the squad. Alright, so let's take a look and see how Max Allegri did within his first year under transfers. And the first one that sticks out like a sore thumb is Thiago Maia. Has been coming in from Santos for a fee of £20.5 million. Could eventually rise to 35 based off of incentives, but the young Brazilian wonder kid defensive mid is going to be fighting for playtime with Granit Xhaka if Max Allegri plays the formation that I think he does and employs a defensive mid. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Bruno, though, coming in from Villarreal for £3.2 million, and also at 32 years old, also a defensive mid that also can play in the center of the park. Man, it looks like he's really stocking up on these defensive mids. Don't know exactly who's going to get the most play time, but yeah, we'll definitely take a look and see who was most used over the last year. And then Inigo Leque coming in from Athletic Bilbao, £5 million, could eventually rise to 7.25. Leque is a right back, and that concerns me a lot because, well, you got Hector Bellerin already on that right side. What are you going to need Leque for, who is also just as good defensively? Definitely not in the speed department. He's not as fast as Bellerin, but defensively just as good, if not better. All right, so now let's take a look at the transfers out and a lot of loans, as you can see. Maitland-Niles, Ren Adelaide, loaned out. You obviously think those two are going to get loaned out at the very start of the season just to enhance their development, as you should. But the one that sticks out is Oxlade-Chamberlain. Has been sold to Liverpool for a fee of £13 million, could eventually rise to 17.5. Thought he would have factored into Allegri's side, but I'm guessing not. And also Carl Jenkinson being sold to West Brom for £4.2 million. You do have that logjam there at the right side now. Bellerin and Leque coming in as well, so I guess there was no need for Carl Jenkinson. All right, so let's take a look at the other competitions outside of the Premier League to see exactly how the Gunners did, starting with the FA Cup, and they got knocked out of the FA Cup in the 5th round. They beat Preston and Wigan before facing off against Crystal Palace and losing by the score of 2-1. Theo Walcott, the only goal scorer for the Gunners. Luca and Christian Benteke on the other side, knocking them out. That is not good, and not a good strong start for Max Allegri in his first season here as Arsenal head coach. Taking a look at the EFL Cup, they did not make it after the 3rd round. They faced off against Tottenham Hotspur and lost away from home 2-1 there. Alexis Sanchez, not even a minute into the match, opening the scoring for the Gunners, but then George Kevin Nkodu and Christian Eriksen on the other side. It also didn't help that Koscielny got himself sent off in the 41st minute. Gunners playing for the majority of the match down to 10 men. Yeah, that's obviously not a good look going out that early in a cup. Even worse going out to your rivals. Let's see how they did in the Champions Cup, or the Champions League as it should be known. They were in a group with Ajax, CSKA Moscow, and Roma, and absolutely stormed through that group. 4 wins, 2 draws, getting themselves through to the knockout stages of the Champions League. Taking on Besiktas in the first knockout round, beating them by the score of 2-0 on aggregates. Before they got knocked out, it looks like, to Dortmund. Final score 4-3 on aggregate. So, hey, at least they did fairly well in the Champions League, getting themselves some money in the process, but ultimately no trophies, no cups, and an utter failure of a performance for Max Allegri in his first season. Taking a look at the tactics screen, and yeah, Max Allegri keeping with that 5-1-2-2 that he uses in Italy, and it just doesn't seem to fit at Arsenal because you have the players out wide that definitely play out wide, like Danny Welbeck, like Theo Walcott, but he's playing primarily down the middle, and it just does not suit the Arsenal style. He's got a 2 up front with Welbeck and Sanchez, and I'm pretty sure Sanchez shouldn't be playing as a striker. Behind him, Ramsey and Cazorla in the middle of the park, Gibbs and Bellerin as wingbacks, Granit Xhaka is your defensive mid, and 3 along the back. 3 at the back I don't think is a good system to use, but tell that to Antonio Conte. Monreal, Koscielny, and Mustafi at the back, Petr Cech as your main goalkeeper. And like I said, you got Ozil. Ozil in this system would be primarily as a center mid, and that's just not where he's best at. So Max Allegri playing around with a lot of the players' roles, putting them out of position, and that, I feel, is what essentially led them to finishing in 7th place and trophyless. So with Max teetering on the edge of being sacked after just 1 year as the Arsenal manager, I think we should go ahead 1 more year to see exactly if he found a way to turn it around and made Arsenal a better team than after the first year. And just like that, the calendar flips over to the 1st of June 2018, and looking to see where Max Allegri is. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Max Allegri has, in fact, left the club at Arsenal, most likely sacked from that position. Let's take a look at his achievements. He was sacked on the 9th of December. The 9th of December, where exactly were Arsenal at that point in time? So let's take a look and see where exactly they finished up. They finished 5th at the end of the season, and Rafa Benitez has taken over as manager of the club. So yeah, Arsenal finishing 5th place after sacking Max Allegri. But let's take a look at the past positions of Arsenal. Now, December 9th, I believe, was the 15th, 16th match day. So yeah, he was floundering around 8th and 9th position at that point in time. And just look at this. Look at this horrific start, staying in double digits on the table before eventually finishing in 8th place, getting sacked in 8th place. That is not a good look for Max Allegri. Taking a look at Arsenal's, let's just take a look at their Premier League stats, because that would have been exactly what he would have been judged on, not the cups or anything, just the Premier League. So there is the 9th of December, facing off against Bournemouth, a draw versus Bournemouth. And once again, it was not a good start. Not a good start whatsoever, getting himself only 6 wins out of this stretch. 6 wins, 5 draws, and 5 losses before eventually being sacked after a 0-0 draw versus Bournemouth. So Max Allegri absolutely not faring well whatsoever at Arsenal. I'm pretty sure it's the style of play that he used too, that 5-1-2-2 that eventually caught up with him. It just does not suit the English style. Gunners fans, please leave your thoughts in the comment box below on, do you think Max Allegri will do well within the English system? Do you also think he will be your next manager, or will it be somebody else down the line? And for everybody else, please leave your suggestions in the comment box below on what else do you want to see on this channel. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Higher Tempo Press. This is Gendo, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and peace out.